Perfect. All right. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate spending some time with us this morning, almost afternoon here on this Wednesday. We will take questions now for Corey. If you have one, please let us know by raising your hand within the Zoom feature, or by sending us a chat. We'll be sure to monitor that as well. So to kick us off with questions for Corey, we're going to go to Bob Pockers. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Corey, I'm going to guess that your haulers are finally back from California, and I'm curious if you guys saw anything either that makes you feel good about the next gen or concerned about the next gen, just as far as how it held up from the 75 laps they got.
I mean, I thought that the car itself passed with flying colors. I mean, you can point at some of the issues that the 14 and the 8 had, but, I don't expect the cars to be bulletproof. I don't think that the cars we had were bulletproof. We broke gears when we went to Martinsville, with a place with a lot of load on the wheels versus the drivetrain. So, I think that's just learning some of the weak links on what you can do. You can't drop the clutch, do a burnout when the tires are sticky and things like that. But, as these parts get mileaged, we're going to find out what the weak links are and adjust accordingly. But I think that one of the hardest tests this next gen car was gonna have was this past week, and I thought it did pretty well.
So, I mean, obviously when a team develops a part, they kind of know what the weak links are, right? They can say, hey, don't do this anymore because it's going to break. Do you have any sense of that with all these vendor parts of where those weak links are yet? Or is that just going to be, learn as you go, as you race?
I see where you're kind of getting at with that, but I think all the vendors have been making parts and making top-notch parts for a long time, being X-Tracks for the transaxles, Woodward for the racks. Like the things that are under the most amount of scrutiny are the ones that, are probably first in line with driver feedback, whether that be steering. We saw some issues at the road course at some other places that they've worked on pump valving and things like that to get the steering figured out. I think a lot of it's going to be, just trial and error a little bit. And if you can do your best to keep the temperature out of the fluids and, make the stuff just really be meticulous on how you put things together, I think that'll be sometimes the difference, and also taking care of your stuff. I think that, when you're racing these things 500 miles, kind of go back to the, early 80s when the parts might not be as reliable as they had gotten over the course of, 30 years. So it's going to be new. I think if you get through the West Coast swing and you make all the laps, you're going to be in pretty good points position just by people abusing their stuff and having some misfortune. So hopefully we are not on the side of, misfortune, but we'll see. We got a pretty stacked deck against us. Our truck broke down on the way out to LA. It broke down on the way back, trying to find that. We're down a couple guys, really shorthanded here at Spire Motorsports. My guys are thrashing, working late, try to get these cars built. And hopefully we have some decent speed when we get down there.
So let me follow up on that. Can you use any? I mean, I know there have some guys that they hired for the truck team. Can you utilize them?
I mean, it's all hands on deck, right? Bono and Mike Reach here on the truck series side. I think I don't know how many people they have over there. It's not many. I think we only have 23 or 24 guys here total. I think that there was more people, between two cars at Penske at LA than there were for the entire team. So, that's some of the stuff we're up against being a small team, which it's not an excuse, but certainly makes the road a lot tougher to hoe when you're just trying to get these parts last minute, trying to get them on the car, trying to learn these cars as quick as possible. And, unfortunately that's where, we're going to get a half step to a step behind the bigger teams just on terms of preparation and points of reference. But that's why we all signed up. We knew it wasn't going to be easy here at Spire, but the light at the end of the tunnel, our potential for good days is a lot higher with this next gen car. Even though we didn't show it this past weekend, we're going to learn a lot from this past weekend and apply it for future races.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question will come from Kelly Crandall. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you. Hey, Corey, I'm just interested, do you know yet kind of an early idea of what your team's agenda is going to be in Daytona. There's obviously so much talk about inventory, not wanting to tear cars up. Do you guys know kind of how you're going to approach maybe practice in the duels? Is it going to be business as usual or more on the conservative side?
I think I've got a pretty good idea of, the general thought process and the aggression level. It'll certainly be lower than it had been in years past, not much lower. You're going to have the guys that are always going to be aggressive, and like Harvick said at LA, like his job's to use the bumper, not to fix it, and that's how a lot of those guys look at it. Us on the other hand, everybody has really truly the same amount of cars, which is enough to get you by. It's not enough to be just frivolous on how you want to go race and attack the duels and attack the 500, because the only lap that pays is the white one at the 500. So, we're going to do our best to try to be there on the last lap, not necessarily fighting for stage points. It's worked out for us the last couple of years, and the 500 pays, I don't even know, 4 or 5x more than a lot of other races. So it would set us up really financially solid, as well as on a points level, pretty solid to come out of there with a good run. So that's what we're going there to do.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question will come from Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead, Jordan.
Hey, Corey, appreciate the time. When you look at the format for the Clash, heat races, last chance qualifier, no pit crews, no live pit stops, that kind of thing, is that something you would like to see or you think could be incorporated into a points race during the season? Not every week necessarily, but just, intermittently.
No, I think if you win a cup race, it should be a full team effort all the way down to your pit crew. It should, I absolutely loved every single element about the Clash, except for how crappy we were as a team on speed. But everything on NASCAR's end I thought was buttoned up better than to be expected. I love the format. I love the just the sense of urgency to get into the show throughout the course of the day. On Sunday, I thought it was a great show. But I don't like necessarily the halftime break or the hot dog breaks. It's not the K&N series. It's the Cup series. That's why I didn't love the dirt race. I think it was a little bit gimmicky myself, but I think it needs to be a full team effort from start to finish, and needs to have, there is certainly a place for exhibition races, the places that might not be able to take a live pit road, and we'll keep those exhibition style. But in terms of a points paying Cup series race, I'd love to see the pit crews remain. And, the variables around that just cater to having a full show.
And the second question for me is about BJ McLeod. What is it like racing against BJ? What is he like as a driver? What's his style? Those kind of things.
Man, Macho Man is one of my favorite guys. I think he is realistic, right? I think he's super underrated. I think anybody that drives in the Cup Series is probably underrated, just because you look for the caliber of teams in the back, like nobody really is a slouch. We saw Cody Ware get on the stick this weekend, runs well, beat Jimmy Johnson in IndyCar, Road America's first time out. Like the guys that you think might suck, they don't suck. Like everybody can kind of hold their weight behind the wheel of a race car, and BJ McLeod's no different. So he's one of my favorite guys to talk to. He understands the sport as a driver, understands the sport as an owner, and he's super realistic as well. So I've certainly grown to like conversing with BJ. We kind of run around each other, qualify around each other. Our cars are parked generally close to each other in points. So, to conversate with him and to kind of learn how he views the sport is pretty cool.
Where did he get the nickname Macho Man?
That's just what I gave it to him, because I just like calling him Macho BJ McLeod. I don't think it's sticking, but I should call him, because he looks like a wrestler. He wears the boots with the skulls on it and studs, and he wears a ring. Like, I don't want to give knuckles to BJ McLeod because he wears some ring with some ghost on it with a skull that'll leave an imprint on your finger till next Thursday. So I go for the handshake with BJ McLeod all the time for that reason.
And there's no other driver that even has the appearance of BJ McLeod with the skulls and the fire suits and everything else.
No, nobody is intimidating as BJ McLeod. Like, he's the most intimidating guy. People can talk about Ryan Newman and this and that. I can assure you, one guy you don't want to mess with is BJ. Now, he's pretty even keeled. He's kind of a teddy bear, got the black hair, looks intimidating. He's a little bit of a warm teddy bear, but I would not want that guy to grab a hold of me.
Thanks, Corey.
All right, our next question will come from Tucker White. Go ahead, Tucker.
Thank you. Corey, for years now, we've had like 36 races on the Cup Series schedule with some weeks during it as off weeks during the season. Though this season, there's only one real off weekend. So in terms of like professional, personal relationships and mental well-being, what effect does that long slogging grind have on you?
I'll let you know, but going from the really limited amount of track time we've had since 2020, going back, leaving Friday mornings, being on track Saturday, all the way through Sundays, a little bit, you kind of get accustomed to showing up on Saturday night, racing Sunday and going home, and being home a lot more. But, with a 2-year-old back at home and another one coming here in May, it's certainly going to make the work-life balance even more that much tougher to juggle, because I feel like it's going to take more of my effort here at the shop than ever just to kind of get our small team thinking and learning efficiently with the deficiencies that are up against us. Kelly's been sacrificing a lot for allowing me to be a professional race car driver, and this is probably going to be one of the toughest years to date, of what she's gonna have to sacrifice and put up with a little kid and a baby on the way. So I'm gonna do my best to be there and help out as much as possible. But at the end of the day, like, I am still nowhere near where I want to be as a race car driver on the competition level. So I'm gonna continue to pour effort into my guys here at Spire to get the most amount out of them, as well as put the work in to myself, whether to be mentally strong or physically strong to get where else we want to go. But the work-life balance, man, that's tough for everybody.
All right, thank you.
Our next question will come from Dustin Albino. Go ahead, Dustin.
Hey, Corey, how are you?
Good, buddy.
Hey, so my question is about Josh Belickey. He'll be your teammate for the majority of the season. What's your relationship with him, and what's he kind of bring to Spire?
Man, I look at Josh like he was me when I was a TriStar. You come in, you are literally doing everything you can do not to be on TV. You're not in any sort of car that you can show what your capabilities are unless you physically see it from the racetrack, somebody that can kind of knows the game, give and take, earns respect, pays the dues. And when we were looking at a second driver for the 77, once Justin went to Colleague, I told Jeff Dickerson in September, I was like, man, you got to I get, Ryan Priest and Matt and like these guys that are on the front side of the garage, like just take a look at Josh, because I feel like he's in a very similar position as I was 4 or 5 years ago. And, would look at Spire like it's his best opportunity, because essentially it would be similar to how I looked at it coming from Go Fast here. You got to have somebody that buys into the program and knows that we still are we're still racing with handcuffs on relative to guys we're racing around on paper. We're still a 30th place team. We really and truly are, with budget and amount of people and things like that. But you got to look at somebody that wants to be here, wants to be in it for the grind. And I think Josh is a good fit, because this is his best opportunity in the Cup Series. And hopefully he can, show what he's capable of doing behind the wheel of a race car. Because I've seen it on the racetrack. I've seen it at road courses. He's solid, and he keeps stuff together. So I think he's going to be a good fit for us here at Spire.
Cool. Thanks, Corey.
Thanks, Dustin.
Okay, our next question will come from Justin Palmer. Go ahead, Justin.
Thank you. And I guess it's a follow-up question now to Dustin. Obviously, last week you had Landon Castle as your teammate, and this week, for the 500, you'll have Landon Castle as well. How much collaboration have you guys been having in the Spire camp as you prepare to transition to Josh Belickey for the rest of the season? How much have you guys been preparing in collaboration-wise with the Gen 7 at the moment?
Well, Josh lives in Wisconsin or wherever, so he's not really able to be, in it every day in the trenches here with us. I think for we just got done having a meeting with Sparks and Roy and Kevin Bellacourt, crew chief from the 77, of, we were talking about, this is a little bit down a rabbit hole of your question, but, I feel like we learned more getting kicked in the dick, excuse my French, this past weekend at LA than had we brought a good race car to the racetrack and run in the top 10 and kind of fooled ourselves with the process we have here. I thought that it put a magnifying glass on what we are short in terms of communication, in terms of lack of data points we're getting versus some of the bigger teams. And we figured out things to do internally to try to close that gap and be real with ourselves and not fool ourselves and get that mindset that we belong. So, with every tough weekend like this past weekend, that was one of the more embarrassing ones in my career, to be honest with you. So I think that as much as that one stung, I think it's going to help us in the future. And I think having Landon as a teammate, he's seen it all. He's seen it as a Hendrick test guy. So he knows how the big team operate, and he knows how the worst teams operate and everywhere in between. And he's got great input. He's got great feedback behind the wheel. He knows the business game off of it as well. So I think Landon's going to set us up pretty good and set that 77 car up to plug Josh in and get his feet wet and get comfortable and hopefully start getting some good runs out of him.
Thank you.
All right, Corey, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck in the Daytona 500.
Appreciate that.